Today, on behalf of All India Council Human Rights, Liberties and Social Justice, National Council of News and Broadcasting, Safeguarding Children Seva Samiti Uttar Pradesh, Kaushaki Foundation Uttar Pradesh, Voices on the Mount Africa Ghana, under hashtag Innovative India Movement, we welcome our guest speaker today, Mrs. Archana Madhusudhan, a language skills specialist who holds master degree in most modern language, English and most ancient of language Sanskrit. Director ED Gurukul, Hyderabad, been in education sector for 2 decades, is a certified POSH practitioner and freelancer corporate trainer, certified neuroscience practitioner, and her in-depth understanding of Sanskrit neuroscience has actually helped integrate knowledge and science. We welcome you, ma'am, today.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here, Ms. Sondhi. Thank you for inviting me on this show.
Thank you, ma'am. So our guest speaker, Mrs. Archana Madhusudhan, she will be talking today on the role of social and emotional learning in success of individuals. So, ma'am, starting with the session, please tell us how do you define emotional intelligence and personality?
Emotional intelligence actually taps into the fundamental element of human behavior, and this is distinct from your personality or intellect. Emotional intelligence is a flexible set of skills, Ms. Sondhi, and it can be acquired and improved with practice. Although some people are born with it, they are naturally emotionally intelligent. One can develop emotional intelligence even if even through consistent practice. Okay. Well, personality is like a puzzle, and it is that stable style of a person that defines each of us. So personality is a result of hardwired preferences, such as inclination towards introversion or extroversion. Okay. However, you can see IQ is something which is the main focus of everybody in today's world, whereas we can also have tests for emotional intelligence as well as personality. So your personality cannot be used to predict emotional intelligence. IQ helps understand the academic excellence of a person. The emotional quotient is something which helps determine everything, the overall growth of the person. Okay. So IQ, EQ, personality, each cover unique grounds and help explain what makes a person tick.
Okay, that's super to know. Something new to know today. Okay, moving to the next question, ma'am. How does emotional intelligence contribute to performance in the workplace? Like people are getting, emotionally disturbed at certain points. So how getting that balance in life help you in the workplace, in your offices, in your employment? Just can you guide up about that?
So emotional intelligence is definitely linked to performance. Okay. So emotional intelligence is the foundation for a host of critical skills, Ms. Sondhi. It impacts almost everything that you say and do on a daily basis. Emotional intelligence is the single biggest predictor of performance in workplace and the strongest driver of leadership and personal excellence. The link between emotional intelligence and earnings is so direct that every point increase in emotional intelligence adds to a large sum of your annual salary. These findings are true for people in all industries, at all age levels, every region of the world. Although we haven't been able to find a job in which performance and pay aren't tied closely to intelligence or emotional intelligence. So anything, any sector that you go, any age group, any region, one needs to have thorough emotional intelligence or control in order to scale the ladder of success easily.
So, ma'am, how can we develop this kind of skill, this kind of, I must say it is a kind of a soft skill only. So, how can a person develop these skills, or it is developing? Can person develop these skills, or it is inbuilt? Also, this. Can you explain about that?
Right. So, yes, some people are born with a very high emotional intelligence, but nothing that it cannot be acquired. Emotional intelligence can be developed. So there are several attributes which entail this. So the communication between your emotional and rational brains. Now, I'm sure, Ms. Sondhi, that brain has different parts, and different parts of the brain have different functions. So your emotional and rational brain have to be worked on. So it is a physical source of emotional intelligence.
Okay.
So the pathway for emotional intelligence starts in the brain at the spinal cord. So we first need to understand our anatomy there. So the primary senses enter here. We must travel to the front of the brain before we can think rationally about our experience. So, however, first what happens is they travel through the limbic system. I'm going into technical details. So those of you who are initiated in it will be able to relate to it. So this is the place where emotions are generated. Now that is called the limbic system. So we have this emotional reaction to events even before our rational mind tries to engage. So Ms. Sondhi, you must have come across incidences where we suddenly react even without thinking.
Right.
And then we realize, God, was it I who did it? Why did I do this?
Right.
Because see, it is, the thinking brain goes into a lull, and we have this sudden emotions taking over. So this is where emotional intelligence comes into play. So emotional intelligence requires communication between the rational and the emotional centers of the brain. The reason why IQ by itself is not a very good predictor of job performance is education and hiring practices are completely related on the academic excellence of a person, whereas the emotional aspect is not explored, and only when situations demand these facets of a person.
Yes.
Okay, so most physicians who pass their boards and go into practice of medicine are qualified technically, subject-wise, but when it comes to emotional intelligence, somewhere we find that they are very hard. We find, how is it that, let's say our relative, somebody is unwell. So we are reduced into, to tears, or, we go into those plethora of emotions. The doctors are very calm, quiet, composed. So we can see this in different professions like lawyers, sales professionals, administrative assistants, most of the professions. That is because they are thinking from the thinking brain. The emotional brain has been controlled. So what happens is, once you are able to master your emotional intelligence, you are able to be a better performer.
Okay. So, ma'am, is there any difference between like EQ? What is EQ? Can you just focus on something? Like, tell us about what is EQ and what are the basic? Like, we have a question here on the chat box. Like, what are the basic tips for developing our EQ?
Emotional quotient is something which is developed with several factors. It is not something which can be encompassed in one go. Okay, we need to have self-awareness. We need to have self-control. We also need to have social awareness and relationship management. So what happens is, we first need to understand that we are undergoing certain emotion. Most of the times we try to snub ourselves. Also social awareness, think what the other person is feeling. Not only that, be aware of your own emotions. Okay, the moment we understand that, yes, we are undergoing this particular emotion, we will still be able to control, let's say, anger. Miss Sondhi, it so happens that, we are traveling somewhere, we are in a rush, we are going, and we are stuck in traffic. Okay, and you see that the person before you is not allowing you to overtake, and he is not going, he is also not allowing you to overtake. What happens? We go into a rage, right? Do we even try to analyze what might have been the reason that this person is not allowing, right? First reaction, we just go and start a fight.
Exactly.
And it is not only me, it's the others who are around me also who will assist me in that, right? So what happens is, it is instant reaction to situations. So try for a minute, get into the shoes of the other person, understand. So that is where we have control over our emotional quotient.
Right.
So I know this is a very new concept, because we have never thought about this in this way, that we always feel that I'm in control.
Right.
No, your brain is in control. So you need to calm down your brain, saying that chill, cool, everything's fine. Don't worry. I'm good. And then we will be able to handle our emotions and also situations better.
Right. So, ma'am, so being emotionally balanced and emotionally aware about ourselves is like putting a filter buttons between reacting and the consequences, the circumstances. So, is that we have to put some filter buttons there?
The filter is calm down for a minute, give it a rational thought rather than just jumping to conclusions. That is the main filter that we have to. It's not only anger, it is also sorrow, it is also fear, right? So, what is the basic emotion? Let's say, Miss Sondhi, you are walking by and suddenly you spot a snake. What would be your reaction?
I will be shouting.
Right? You will scream. So we basically have these three major emotions:
Right.
fight, flight, or freeze. Okay, fight is okay. If I have the courage, I go fight the snake. Okay. If most of the time it is fear, we start screaming and run away from there, and then freeze. Freeze is, sometimes you must have noticed, we are just not able to do anything. We just stand there.
Yeah, blank.
Right?
Blank
So
at times.
basic emotions that we undergo. So once we are able to calm down as to calm, what is the next step that you're going to do? Don't disturb the snake, right? It has not come to kill you.
Right.
It has not come to harm you. So the moment you realize that it is not going to harm you, you will not react. What happens is, why will the snake react? It senses you are the danger. You senses it is the danger.
Exactly.
So, exactly. So when you are able to think rationally, we still will be able to manage our emotions.
Rightly said, ma'am. Okay, so ma'am, what makes one person shine over other, and what does predict job performance means? Like, how can a person, prove himself better than other in a workplace, in his personal life, in relationship, anywhere? So, what steps or measure he can take?
Undoubtedly, Miss Sondhi. So, how a person's job performance is a combination of both his IQ, his EQ, and his overall personality. Like I was just talking about what is EQ, what is IQ, what is personality. So when you have all of these three things in sync, a person will outshine anybody in his job. Okay. So, the emotional intelligence is the third major contributor. First thing is your IQ. You need to have that academic excellence, or you need to have the requisite technical skills in order to get ahead in your job. Next thing is personality, how you handle yourself, how you handle others. And finally, your emotional intelligence. Because when you are able to handle your own emotions, also understand what is the emotion that the other person is going through and be able to manage. So your self-awareness, your self-management, social awareness, relationship management is what will determine your success at job place. The same thing, is also replicated in your personal relationships, Miss Sondhi. Let's say you have a husband and wife who are sitting and watching TV, and the wife says, "Can you just take out the garbage?" Okay, he says, "Yes, honey." Okay, and she walks up. She goes into her kid's room. She sees that this little kid has ruined the wall with his crayon. What would be the mother's reaction?
She will get mad. Yeah.
She will be livid with anger. And then she thrashes the child, she scolds the child. Now it is not allowed, right? Manhandling of children is not allowed. But then, yes, at least harsh words are used. And this is also going to have a terrible impact. The child wouldn't know. Why is mama angry? I was just enjoying myself. Come on, mama. Right? The child doesn't know that this should not be done until and unless you put some things in this.
Right.
Now she comes out with that same upset mentality. She comes into the room. She sees that the husband has gone. He has, removed the garbage, what she had instructed him. And then he had actually prepared a cup of tea and he's brought it for his wife. Okay, he's sitting there with a cup of tea, offering it to her. She comes out and says, "You're still sitting here sipping tea. I asked you to remove the garbage."
Right.
right? She doesn't know what he has done. She is, reflecting whatever anger she underwent there in the child's room, she is throwing it on her husband. So he would obviously be upset as to,
Right.
I did it, come on. Why are you angry? What are you angry about?
Right.
And then he says, I did it, right? Or see, let's say he's an angry person. What would be the reaction? It
Exactly.
would lead to a fight.
True.
Snowball into a fight. And then even if she apologizes, that moment is lost,
Not true.
isn't it? So it is better not to be quick to anger, control your emotions in whatever situations so that you can handle your personal relationships also very
But ma'am, today in today's life, like fast moving life, we are getting short tempered. We want to do so many things in short time. So people are getting frustrated. People are losing their relationship. People are moving fast. They are getting into competition things and all. So how to balance their emotion in such kind of environment in today's world where a workplace is where both the partners are working, the home is more of like a we are more of a like a working people today, so we don't get time to balance our emotion, talk about things we care about each other. So what kind of things they can take steps like to balance their emotion in such kind of environment?
So, Ms. Sondhi, I completely agree. It is a fast-paced world, and until and unless you have to pay packs, it becomes very difficult to lead a reasonably comfortable life. So, yes, and both partners undergo a lot of stress. When I say try to understand each other, communicate with each other, not necessary that you sit and have long chats, right? Just trying to understand where the person is coming from, right? Don't be quick to anger. The moment you realize something is going out of hands, control. Ways to control, first thing, count. Our elders used to tell us, isn't it? Count, backward counting, 10 to 1, right? Do it, deep breathing. Another thing is deep breathing. And like I told you, the main reason of why this happens, Ms. Sondhi, is because we have this, a very special organ in our head called the amygdala, right? And this called the sentry or the sentinel of the brain. So it is something which controls all our emotions. And when we are in a heightened state, be it of sorrow, distress, pain, pleasure, happiness, this takes over. Okay, so the moment we realize, oh, this is happening, that means we know that we are going in. This process is called the amygdala hijack.
Okay.
Tell your mind, calm down, dear. I'm good. And then give control back to your thinking brain. That is where all of things happen. So the moment you see, when you know that the other person is angry, you know that, okay, his emotion is not under control.
Right.
Let me give him that space. I know it takes time because most of us are not aware of this concept. So awareness is something we should build up.
Right.
And when your partner realizes that you are making efforts to keep the things, in a proper order and shape, obviously they will react. So I think the best thing is self-control, deep breathing, and counting back. Little steps. Start off with these, and slowly you will understand where the person is coming from. And we will not go into that stage wherein we repent what we said or did.
Right. We are also reacting in the same way the person is reacting, and then the conflict will happen, right?
It will, yes.
Okay. So, ma'am, moving to the next question, how does emotional intelligence help with conflict management, and what does conflict management even like means? Please guide the audience about that. Like, what is conflict management, and how emotional intelligence help with the conflict management?
Oh yes, conflict is something which happens inevitably everywhere. It is not only with others, conflicts also happens within ourselves. How many times are we torn between two thoughts, Ms. Sondhi, right? So when we ourselves undergo this conflict, we can understand from other person's perspective. Every individual has his or her own perspective. And when there is a clash, there is a conflict. So conflict inevitably happens. And the key to avoid conflict is respectful communication. You may not always agree to what others say, but very politely, gently agree to disagree.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Don't say that, no, I don't agree. Then it will go into a full-blown argument.
True.
So say, I agree to disagree to what you're saying. That will
Very
go
nice.
well for
Very,
everyone.
very nice line. Right.
Yes. So, instead of saying, you did this, you always do this, try something like this. Say, I have a hard time when you do this. I feel this.
Right.
So when you actually express what you're undergoing, the other person will be softer to your reactions.
Right.
Right? Even little children, Miss Sondhi, talking not about elders, peers in the office scenario. Little children, you command little children not to do it, they will definitely do
Definitely
it.
do. Right.
So we need to know how to peacefully handle the situation. Try to say, I would better prefer this. It would be better if this happens. So don't say, don't do this. Why did you do this? You are responsible. Right? When we go from this angle, it leads to conflict. So, there are several organizations which actually help us understand, or everybody needn't undergo training there. We follow the 7 ground rules for dealing with conflicts. Okay. One is acknowledge the conflict. First thing, understand, yes, the person is not ready to accept your view. You cannot expect everybody to listen and understand your viewpoint. So first, acknowledge, yes, there is a conflict. Next, open up lines of communication. Never say that this is what I have decided, finished, done. Right? That is only going to create bad blood. The person is never going to confide in you again, isn't it? So don't close the lines of communication. Allow them to air their opinions or views. Next thing is focus on the problem, not on the other person. Generally, our focus is on the person, not on the problem. That is where the conflict arises.
Right.
Okay. Finally, stick to facts. Don't beat around the bush. Don't try to dig up facts. Last time also you did the same thing. You always do the same thing.
We regret on the same thing again and again. This is something what humans do. We regret the last time you did this. Last time you did this. So we are like that.
Yes, we keep accusing, blaming, shaming, right? And yes, meet face to face. Don't leave any communication lying on the table. Finish it off. Talk, communicate, resolve. Discuss, debate, argue, agree. Right. Never leave it as, right now, let me leave it. We will see when the time arises.
Right.
No. Also choose your battles. Sometimes it is wiser not to get into the argument, isn't it? I seriously believe in this saying, Miss Sondhi, wherein when in doubt, if you never argue with an idiot, because they will drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. Okay, so when you know the person is not worth it, don't go into it. So choose your battles wisely. Not necessary that you put up a brave front, fight everything. Right, so choose your battles, and finally, make a decision and act on it. Rather than just talking in the air and leaving, then you will not help other people build that trust in you.
Rightly said, ma'am. Very rightly said that we don't have to drag into the same conflict, and we have to take out the solution and not focus on the problem, but to the person, what the thing is, what the problem is, and we can manage the conflict and we can move ahead. Okay, moving to the next question, ma'am. Most of the time, conflicts are a direct result of lack of trust in the person we are talking to, the person we are into relationship or into offices or anywhere. And what is your take on it? Like, is it true that trust is a factor that arise the conflict between two people?
Undoubtedly, Ms. Sondhi, trust is a very vital component of, the emotional quotient, because it is a firm belief in reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. Why do you believe somebody? Why do you trust somebody? Only when you have faith in the person. And this comes only with emotional quotient. So you always have to notice the level of trust that you have in any relationship. Identify people who have helped shape your viewpoint or those who have trusted you. Also, always keep focus on, is the person a positive or a negative influence on you? How does he or she accept or take your views? Pay attention to the degree of trust you yourself impose on that person, and that person in turn reflects it on you. Right. So, always believe in accepting critical criticism. Constructive feedback is something which everybody should be ready to accept. Nobody is perfect, Miss Sondhi. Right. So we all have flaws. And when somebody points out the flaws, we are very quick to react as well. So the moment we understand, oh yes, Archana, you should not have said that. I think this would make performance better. I need to understand it. Oh yes, let me try and analyze if this is right. So that is in my benefit. Yes, we have people who unnecessarily criticize at all points. Be there a reason, there be no reason. Ignore such people. But you definitely know when a well-wisher is advising you something, you need to know that, yes, I need to accept this and better myself. Otherwise, we are doing a great disservice to ourselves. And only when people understand that she's a reasonable person, if we point out that this is not right, she will correct herself. It builds trust. Otherwise, when people notice that you are reacting negatively to anything and everything, nobody will trust you. So building trust is a very important component in your emotional quotient. Right? So practice, one thing that you can do is practice asking help or assistance or delegating works. There's nothing wrong. When I am not able to do it, when I require help, request for help. That actually builds trust. This person believes it, oh, she actually believes me. And that's the reason that she approached me. So I think that is one thing. We need to understand the positive and negative intentions of people in this song. That is what helps in building trust.
Ma'am, you are working with so many organizations and you have so much of experience. So, one last question I would want to ask here is, like, how to build a successful relationship, whether in any field, like any place, in your workplace or whether in your personal life, how to build a successful relationship based on trust, like you have already talked about. So, what measures we can take, what steps we can take?
So, the three major requirements of a successful relationship, Ms. Sondhi: willingness to create an emotionally safe environment where anybody who is interacting with you can share their feelings without having fear of favor, judgment. Usually we are all in that thing of thinking, oh my God, what will people say? We are afraid of being judged. Right. So when somebody is in your presence, be that person wherein they can reflect. They feel that I am safe. I am not going to be judged on what everybody has ups and downs, Miss Sondhi. We cannot judge a person by looking at one circumstance. So give them the confidence that you are in a safe environment. You can express your emotion. This is where people come back to you. Right. So we have such people where we feel very comfortable. We know that this is my go-to person. Whatever the circumstance, I can blindly rely on this person. So be that person wherein you make people around you comfortable, that you can trust in them. That's one thing. Another is a win-win problem-solving attitude is what we should have. We should cultivate it in such a way that nobody loses. Okay. Some people say relationships are always 50-50, but they work better if both are 100% responsible for the relationship. Not that I keep giving, and you only keep taking. Doesn't work, right? So it should be both ways. You need to give, take, and have similar values. So you can't think, you're going to have a different value set. I can't have a different value set and we can't click together. So I would say, firstly, there are several aspects that we need to include: create awareness, and right from childhood, these things should be inculcated. We see that today, initially we never had these problems of emotional intelligence. And these are the terminologies which are very rampant today.
Right.
Why? Because of the change scenario. Earlier days, we had joint families, we had several adults
Exactly.
taking care of children, wherein children could run and they could express themselves, they could get their answers. Today, where do we have that time, Miss Sondhi? We have, say, a 4-member family, 3-member family, or saddest fact is we have a single-member family. Single parents are around today. Where does the child get the emotional support? So when the child is emotionally unstable, how will he grow into an emotionally stable adult?
Right.
There is one instance which I would like to quote here.
Sure.
This happened very recently. There was this gentleman, I'm not going to name him, from Chennai. He was an A grader throughout the school, academic top performer. So obviously he went into the IIT, got a very good rank, cleared his engineering, and he was placed in a very good company in the US with a very hefty package. By the age of 25, he had a sprawling bungalow, a beautiful wife, cars. He had you name it and he had it. He had a beautiful life running for him. 27, he committed suicide.
Oh my God. What was the reason?
Emotional instability. He did not know how to handle his emotions. He did not know how to handle stress because throughout his life, his focus was on ranks, academic strong. I need to get a good rank. I need to have a good job. I need to have a hefty salary, right? So never was the focus on emotional intelligence. And that is where he lost it. Don't we see so many instances today, Ms. Sondhi, reflecting this?
I know.
Yes, I know a very recent case of this young lady, Aisha. She killed herself. She jumped into it was viral on the YouTube and all. She challenged her husband. Her husband was harassing her for dowry. And he said, why are you tired? Just leave me, okay? Just go kill yourself. She really did that. She shot a video, okay? And she jumped off from a rowing boat into the river and killed herself. She called her parents. She said, I'm going to die. What would be the state of mind of the parents? The child calls you and says, I am committing suicide.
Oh my God.
What would be that?
That would be very,
very traumatic. The parents did not know. They said, no, better don't do it. Don't do it. Please wait. She was so emotionally disturbed. She could not control her emotions. What she did was she went into a boat. She recorded a live video. She jumped off and killed herself. So where is the emotional intelligence? What did you achieve? What did you achieve? Did you get your husband's love? Did you make your parents happy?
Nothing.
Right. So what I'm trying to tell Ms. Sondhi is the emotional quotient is at a rock bottom in many of the individuals today. And that is because of the changed epigenetics, the social life that we are in. So I think people should be more aware. People should be more understanding. Try to understand if somebody, and there are triggers. You can actually identify a person who is undergoing depression.
Right.
The moment you know that the person is having one of these episodes, try to be there for him. Not necessary that you do anything, just be there for him.
Right.
That will give so much of faith and confidence in the individual that he may not take the fatal step, which may ruin everything.
Exactly. Very nicely explained, ma'am, that compromising with the situation can make you more emotionally balanced. This is like I think the basic sar of everything, like getting compromised. Like as you have told, that getting the ranks and the person was not able to get that same rank, so he committed the wrong thing. So being compromising, teaching our students, teaching our kids from the childhood that okay, if this is not happening, it's okay. Just be okay with the situation. But teaching these kind of things from the childhood make person more emotionally balanced. Very nicely explained, ma'am. One last question here. This is not a question. This is something like personal. Like if the person want to connect with you, want to have a coaching with you, have a session with you, how can they get your connection, and where can you be find on social media?
I have a YouTube channel called Brain Tunes with Archana. I am on
Okay.
FB with the same name, Archana Madhusudhan. Okay. And yes, LinkedIn Archana Madhusudhan as well.
Right.
So yes, emotional intelligence trainings,
Okay.
not only for children, but educators and adults as well, because this is the need of the hour, like I said. And yes, I'm a soft skills and communications trainer. So anybody who is interested in learning from me is most welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn, Archana Madhusudhan, Hyderabad, and I'm a communication skills specialist. I'm on Insta with the same name, FB, Archana Madhusudhan, and do subscribe to my channel, Brain Tunes with Archana.
Definitely, ma'am. I've seen most of your videos and they were great. So definitely our audience will get in connection with you for the further sessions. And it was great to have you today. And we learned so much about emotional intelligence, personality growth, getting, our mind training and all the brainstorming sessions. So thank you so much for joining today, ma'am. And namaste from #Innovative India.
It was a pleasure, and thank you for having me on this show and sharing my views, Lisa.
Definitely, ma'am. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.